The teasers dropped, the fandom went silent. A single night in Gangnam turned into a nightmare caught on CCTV, and in an instant, the entire K-pop world was just turned upside down. Was this the end of one of Korea's biggest hip-hop queens? Jessi's career ending? The disturbing video fans can't ignore. Welcome to StarScope K-Report. Join Eric and Minji as they ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates. From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
Today's mission is unpacking a timeline that truly, it just shook the industry to its core. And we're exploring this really wild central paradox. Like, how can an idol survive a violent scandal while a fan telling the absolute truth about it might actually end up in prison?
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. So to figure out how Jessi survived this, we are pulling from official police timelines, some investigative reports from Korea Boo and JTBC, and this really fascinating legal paper from the University of San Diego.
Yeah, that paper was intense.
It really was. So we are diving deep into her September 2024 fan assault controversy, the intricate legal machinery that followed, her shocking 2025 comeback, and ultimately how this single case exposes the underlying mechanics of South Korea's defamation laws.
I mean, I was reading through the police timelines and the subsequent fallout, and what immediately struck me was just the sheer emotional whiplash.
Right.
Because we are talking about Jessi. This is a soloist who basically wrote the modern playbook for the girl crush concept.
Oh, absolutely. She defined it.
Exactly. She was the tough, fiercely loyal, unapologetic queen of K-hip-hop. And then practically overnight, you have netizens flooding forums, like demanding she leave the country.
Yeah, the backlash was immediate.
It was. I kept asking myself how a beloved icon goes from breaking charts with an all-kill to facing that level of absolute vitriolic public fury.
Well, the catalyst was a very specific incident on the night of September 29th, 2024. This was in Apgujeong, right in the heart of the Gangnam district.
Right.
So, based on the timeline established by the Seoul Gangnam police, an 18-year-old fan approached Jessi on the street to ask for a photo.
Just a normal fan interaction, supposedly.
Right. But Jessi declined the request twice.
Yeah.
And as the teenage fan was apologizing and, turning to leave, a man who was part of Jessi's entourage suddenly stepped forward and struck the fan in the face.
The CCTV footage of this alleyway incident leaked, and I mean, the visual of it is just catastrophic for any public figure.
Yeah, optics-wise, it's a nightmare.
It really is. You see the fan getting hit, a brief moment of chaotic intervention, and then Jessi just leaves the scene. That visual alone fractured the fandom. The K-nets, the domestic Korean netizens, were relentless.
Oh, they did not hold back.
Not at all. In their cultural framework, she abandoned a vulnerable younger fan who just wanted to support his bias.
Right.
Meanwhile, fans, the international fans, were looking at the exact same footage and asking, wait, she didn't throw the punch. Why is she being treated as the primary aggressor?
Yeah, that disparity in fan reactions really highlights a massive cultural divide in how accountability is viewed. But to understand the domestic outrage, we have to examine the brutal mechanics of K-pop contracts.
Oh, definitely.
Because Jessi's initial defense was that she had only met the assailant that very day. The attacker was a Taiwanese national, introduced to her as an acquaintance of her producer, Koala.
Right, so she's saying she didn't even really know him.
Exactly.
Right.
But in the Korean entertainment industry, optics often supersede initial context. Just weeks later, on October 18th, the Korea Times and Korea Jungang Daily reported that her contract with DoD Entertainment was terminated.
I have to flag that because she had only signed with DoD a month prior.
Yeah, just 1 month.
After leaving J Park's More Vision label. A 1-month tenure is practically unheard of. I always assumed agencies would try to weather the storm for an artist with her level of commercial pull,
You'd think so, yeah.
Why pull the ripcord so fast?
Well, it comes down to the strict morality and image clauses embedded in standard K-pop contracts. Agencies don't just sell music, right?
Right. They sell the idol.
Exactly. They sell a heavily curated image. Whether you're the matinee of a rookie group or a veteran soloist, your contract likely includes stipulations about maintaining public dignity.
Wow, public dignity. That's so broad.
It is, and it's intentional. When a scandal of this magnitude hits, especially one involving physical violence in a minor, the agency runs a rapid risk assessment.
Ah, okay.
The potential financial damage from boycotts, lost brand sponsorships, television bans, it often outweighs the long-term revenue of keeping the artist. DoD Entertainment clearly calculated that the brand damage was instantly terminal.
That structural reality makes her subsequent apologies look less like PR strategy and more like pure desperation.
Yeah, it was definitely a scramble.
Because she posted two massive apologies on Instagram on October 12 and October 24.
Right.
And the second one was incredibly heavy. She wrote, "This is all my fault," and admitted she was too flustered by the sudden situation. She literally stated that if she had taken a picture or protected the victim more actively, gone straight to the police, or apologized properly, the victim wouldn't have suffered this much.
Yeah, she fully acknowledged that her inaction led to significant pain and a feeling of betrayal. But analyzing this from a crisis management perspective, the timing of those statements is critical.
I was actually reading the timeline of those statements, and honestly, I don't understand the delay at all.
It seems counterintuitive, right?
Totally. It feels like a massive miscalculation. I mean, the golden rule of K-pop crisis management is speed. The moment a rumor even begins to trend, an agency issues a hyper-polished statement within hours to control the narrative.
Right. Normally, yes.
But here, the silence just let the anger ferment online for days.
So the delay wasn't necessarily a PR miscalculation. It was more likely a legal paralysis.
Legal paralysis.
Yeah. When an incident involves a foreign national, a physical assault, and an active police investigation, PR teams cannot simply issue a blanket denial or a standard apology without potentially admitting legal liability.
Oh, I see. So they can't say sorry because it might mean they're guilty in court.
Exactly. The agency and her legal counsel had to figure out exactly what the police knew, who the assailant actually was, and whether Jessi could be charged as an accomplice before she could safely post anything.
Okay, that makes sense legally, but socially, the court of public opinion had already delivered its verdict by the time she admitted fault.
Oh, totally. The internet had made up its mind.
But this is where the deep dive gets really wild, because the CCTV footage that fueled all that outrage might not be the whole truth.
Right.
Yeah, wait till you hear what netizens uncovered next about K-Media's involvement.
So the narrative surrounding that CCTV footage took a sharp turn when the Seoul Gangnam Police Precinct officially dropped the charges against Jessi.
Dropped them completely.
Completely. They stated there was insufficient evidence that she had threatened the victim or aided the suspect's escape. And shortly after that, a prominent YouTube source, K-World Things, highlighted claims that the major broadcast network, JTBC, had manipulated the original CCTV footage.
See, I always thought malicious editing was just a convenient excuse that fandoms use when their favorite idol gets caught doing something embarrassing on a variety show.
Right, like the evil editing on survival shows.
Exactly. How does a legitimate news network get accused of this in a criminal context?
Well, the claim is that JTBC altered the sequence of the footage to create a specific narrative, making it appear as if Jessi callously ignored the altercation and walked away.
Wow.
Yeah. And unedited versions allegedly show her actively trying to break up the fight before being overwhelmed by the chaos.
That is a completely different story.
It is. And to understand why a major network would do this, you have to look at the symbiotic and honestly often antagonistic relationship between K-media and K-pop agencies.
Right.
Broadcast networks are in a relentless war for ratings, and taking down a massive celebrity generates unprecedented traffic.
That is so messed up. But we saw the exact same accusations of dirty media play during BTS Suga's DUI incident.
Yes, very similar situation.
Media outlets were heavily criticized for broadcasting incorrect CCTV footage, which artificially amplified the scandal before the truth came out. It just exposes a structural flaw in the media ecosystem where the race to be first, or the most scandalous, completely overrides journalistic integrity.
It's a high-stakes environment, for sure. Meanwhile, the actual perpetrators faced very different consequences.
What happened to them?
The original Taiwanese attacker fled South Korea 3 days after the incident.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, forcing Korean authorities to request an Interpol wanted notice. However, Jessi's producer, Koala, who was also heavily featured in that CCTV footage, he was indicted on assault charges.
Okay, at least someone was held accountable.
Well, yes, and his apology timeline is fascinating. He finally posted a handwritten letter on his Instagram, admitting his role in escalating the situation on June 5, 2025.
June 5, 2025. That is a full 9 months after the September incident.
Yep, 9 months.
In K-pop time, 9 months is an eternity. Groups debut, have 3 comebacks, and go on a world tour in 9 months.
It's true. But he explicitly stated in his letter that he waited until everything was, quote, lawfully resolved.
Legal paralysis again.
Exactly. He admitted that while he wasn't the initial attacker, he was part of the group and escalated the situation due to a misunderstanding, stating it should have never gone that far, and that's on me.
Wow.
Yeah, he was just waiting for the legal machinery to finish processing him before addressing the public.
I hear that, but right in the middle of this 2024 storm, a completely separate report by Karibu brought up a ghost from 2013.
Oh yeah, this is a massive secondary fallout.
JTBC interviewed a different victim who claimed that back in 2013 at a club in Itaewon, she was assaulted by Jessi and her entourage in a bathroom.
And the 2013 allegation resurfaced with striking, undeniable similarities to the Gangnam incident.
Too similar, honestly.
The victim claimed Jessi's group attacked her without provocation, allegedly demanding she get on her knees to apologize if she wanted her stolen bag back.
The detail that gave everyone chills was the legal defense. Back in 2013, Jessi's defense was that the assailant who actually hit the victim had left the country.
Right.
And the 2013 victim told JTBC her defense now is the same as it was back then. It is an eerie parallel to the 2024 Gangnam incident where the Taiwanese attacker fled the country.
It really is.
I have to push back on the idea that the manipulated CCTV footage just clears her name. Like, if JTBC edited the tape, does it really matter if her entourage still exhibits this exact same pattern of violence over a decade apart?
Well, legally, a pattern of association isn't proof of a crime, which is exactly why the police dropped the 2024 charges.
Right.
The justice system requires direct evidence of a specific act. But morally and professionally, the repeated proximity to violence severely damages her credibility.
Oh, absolutely.
It forces the public to ask if she is chronically a victim of circumstance or an enabler who surrounds herself with a highly volatile entourage.
It's the company you keep. And the K-Nets certainly made up their minds about it. And hey, if you love staying updated on your favorites and uncovering the truth behind these massive industry headlines, make sure you're subscribed to StarScope K Report. We've got even bigger scoops ahead.
Yes, definitely subscribe.
Because Jessi went on hiatus, and many thought her career was absolutely over. But later in the deep dives, we'll talk about the massive surprise that no one saw coming, and the secret legal weapon agencies used to silence netizens forever.
The transition from total career collapse to an industry return is generally a perilous, multi-year journey. But Jessi's path circumvented that entirely.
Totally. Because she had been on hiatus for 8 months, focusing on activities abroad, laying low, completely off the domestic radar.
Just waiting it out.
Exactly. And then on June 23, 2025, out of absolutely nowhere, a vintage TV screen teaser drops on her official social media.
I remember seeing that.
It just flashes breaking news. Jessi 2025.06.27. She announced a surprise comeback for June 27th.
Just 8 months later.
The comment section was pure chaos. Fans were typing, "The Queen is back, we've missed you." To drop a comeback just 8 months after a career-ending scandal is jarring. I was trying to figure out how an agency even orchestrates a return like that when the domestic sentiment is still so fragile.
Well, it requires an immense amount of strategic confidence.
Yeah.
But to understand how a K-pop idol can survive a scandal of this magnitude and launch a comeback so quickly, we have to look past the fandom hype and examine the structural machinery of Korean entertainment.
Okay, lead on me.
Specifically, how the industry weaponizes the law to survive scandals. This leads us directly to the research from the University of San Diego on South Korea's criminal defamation laws.
I was looking at that University of San Diego paper, and honestly, my jaw dropped when I saw the breakdown of Article 307. I had always assumed that truth was an absolute defense.
But that assumption is super common, especially from a Western legal perspective.
Right.
But Article 307 of the Korean Criminal Code makes defamation a criminal offense, not just a civil dispute.
It's just terrifying.
It is punishable by severe fines and imprisonment. And the core, deeply controversial fact is that in South Korea, truth is not an absolute defense.
I need you to break down exactly how that works.
Sure.
Because if a young fan, a netizen, posts a story on X or a forum about an idol being a bully, and they have the receipts, the photos, the chat logs, witnesses, if what they are posting is 100% historically and factually true, they can still go to a literal prison.
Yes. Under Article 307, Paragraph 1, a person who defames another by publicly alleging true facts can still be punished by up to 2 years in prison or a massive fine.
That is just wild to me.
If the facts are false, the penalty jumps to 5 years under Paragraph 2. But telling the truth does not automatically protect you from criminal prosecution.
Is there no exception?
There is a public interest exception under Article 310, which says you won't be punished if the true facts were solely for the public benefit. However, the courts interpret public benefits so narrowly that regular citizens almost never win those cases.
Wow. So the law acts less like a legal boundary and more like a digital PR cleanup crew.
That's a great way to put it.
The moment a scandal breaks, the immediate reflex of every major company, HYBE, SM, JYP, YG, is to drop a statement threatening strict legal action against malicious rumors.
Oh, immediately.
We saw this during the massive wave of school bullying scandals that rocked the industry. Stray Kids Hyunjin, GIG's Sujin, Luna's Chu, the volleyball twins. The agencies instantly threatened defamation.
And the University of San Diego research highlights the massive chilling effect this creates.
Right.
If you are a victim of school violence, or if you witnessed an idol doing something illegal, you are heavily discouraged from speaking out.
Because they'll just sue you.
Exactly. Because even if you can prove it happened, the idols agency has the financial backing and legal resources to drag you into criminal court for damaging the reputation of their multi-million-dollar asset.
I still struggle with the underlying logic of this. South Korea is a modern, hyper-connected democracy. Why on earth would a democratic legal system prioritize a celebrity's reputation over a citizen's right to tell the truth?
It does seem backwards, right?
It feels completely backwards to how free speech works in a place like the U.S., where the Sullivan case cemented truth as the ultimate defense against defamation.
Well, it traces back to a fundamental philosophical difference rooted in history and culture. The USD research points out that South Korea places an exceptionally high premium on privacy and social ethics.
Okay.
You see this reflected in their Personal Information Protection Act, or PIPA, which is one of the strictest privacy regimes globally.
Right, I've heard of PIPA.
Historically, drawing from deep-seated Confucian values, a person's honor or reputation is considered intrinsically linked to their basic human dignity.
Interesting.
Therefore, publicly destroying someone's reputation, even with the truth, is viewed by the legal system as an act of violence against their dignity.
Wow.
The law asks a very specific question. Like, does the public truly need to know about this person's private past, or is the accuser just trying to humiliate them?
That makes sense in the context of private citizens protecting their families. But when you apply that ancient philosophy to the modern K-pop machine, it gets incredibly warped.
Yes, it gets very complicated.
Because K-pop idols aren't just regular citizens. They are highly manufactured commercial products. Their pristine visuals and their good girl or good boy images are exactly what the agencies are selling to the fans.
Exactly.
When a netizen exposes a truth that shatters that image, the agency uses this law to crush the netizen. They aren't doing it to protect the idol's human dignity. They are doing it to protect their profit margins.
Which is the exact critique leveled by human rights organizations globally. The European Union, the UN Human Rights Committee, and various international press organizations have repeatedly urged South Korea to decriminalize defamation.
And nothing has changed.
Not fundamentally. They argue that politicians, corporate executive, and now powerful entertainment agencies use these laws specifically to stifle criticism, suppress whistleblowers, and silence those with less financial influence.
It's a shield that doubles as a sword.
Absolutely. As the USD paper notes, prosecutors in Korea have broad authority and full discretion. A powerful entertainment agency can easily mobilize the justice system to hunt down an anonymous teenager on a forum.
Which brings us right back to Jessi, the fandoms, and the whole Hallyu Wave ecosystem. The fans have the collective power to stream a song to an all-kill to sell out stadiums in minutes.
Yeah.
But the moment they step out of line and criticize the behavior of these idols or their entourages, they are staring down the barrel of a criminal lawsuit.
It's a harsh reality.
It forces a bizarre, legally mandated loyalty. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a KT update on how these industry laws impact the idols you love, because the behind-the-scenes reality is wildly different from the polished music videos.
It creates a highly curated, heavily enforced reality. And this explains the mechanics of Jessi's June return.
Oh, right. Let's get back to that.
Once the legal threat effectively silences the most vocal domestic online critics, the agency can simply reset the narrative. They test the waters with international fans, who are outside the jurisdiction of Korean defamation laws and often more forgiving of behavioral scandals.
That makes perfect sense.
The CCTV footage fades from the domestic timeline, the vintage TV teasers drop, and the focus shifts entirely back to the music and the performance.
It's media play at its absolute finest. They wait out the initial storm, legally threaten anyone who keeps the storm brewing, and then hit the reset button.
Pretty much.
It makes you wonder how much of the scandal-free image of our favorite groups is actually genuine and how much of it is just heavily legally enforced silence.
Which raises an important question, and it's something I want everyone listening to think about long after this deep dive ends. If the law punishes fans for telling the truth, and agencies control the narrative through the threat of criminal prosecution, who's actually writing the history of K-pop? Next time your bias gets caught in a scandal, ask yourself, are you seeing the truth or just the legally approved version of it?
You've been listening to StarScope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.